Hi everyone, how's it going? Welcome back to the channel. This is Zach here, and today I'm going to be bringing you a rank video. Now, I know these rank videos are something that I did a little bit like a couple of months ago, but I don't know. I really want to get back into the swing of things of like ranking a band's discography. So, yeah. But today we'll be ranking Red's discography. Now, Red is a band that I've been a fan of for I think like a little over 5 years, I would say, since 2000, like early 2012. So about maybe 6.5, maybe almost 7 years. I'll be ranking all their albums from worst to best. So here we go. First up, of course, we got Release the Panic. Yes, I think this is the band's weakest album. And I know what some people might say, it's because of the electronics. The electronics in this album really don't work for me, I think. This is like a more radio-friendly, more mainstream side of Red. Like, this is the type of, like, music that you would hear on, like, a mainstream rock playlist or something, I don't know. But, this sort of sound doesn't really work for Red as much. But there's still some tracks on it that I do enjoy, like Perfect Life, and If We Only, and So Far Away. Glass House, I think, is a little underrated, too. Next up, we got Until We Have Faces. I know this may be higher on a lot of people's lists, but let me tell you, it is pretty difficult ranking Red's entire discography, because I think all their albums, you know, even the weaker ones like Release the Panic, you know, have some good stuff on them. But, you know, there's got to be a place for all these albums, right? But unfortunately, this one just kind of is closer to the bottom for me. And I think that's mainly because, like I said before about Release the Panic, this album does have a more mainstream sounding side to it. But there is still some tracks that I do like. Feed the Machine, Faceless, Lie to Me, Let It Burn, Buried Beneath, and Watch You Crawl. And Hymn for the Missing, I think, is a very, I wouldn't say very, but kind of an underrated ballad. Yeah, Until We Have Faces, I think, is a really good album, but not one of their best, in my opinion. And next up, we got here Red's debut album, End of Silence. Now, again, there's a lot of people that have this a lot higher, but as you can see, it is more in the middle for me. I think this album is still really good nonetheless, and there's a lot of things about this album that I like. I like how, I think it's a good debut for one. I think it's one of the best hard rock debut albums, and yeah, a lot of their most popular songs are on this album. I really enjoy the sound that's in this album. I mean, Red really established right away what kind of band they wanted to be with this album. So, yeah, End of Silence. What do I gotta say? It's a good album, but it is more in the middle for me. So, yeah. Next up, we got Red's latest album, which is Gone. Now, I know some people might be a little surprised that I even have this above, like, Until We Have Faces or End of Silence. But to be honest with you guys, this album has held up for me very well. And I've said before in a past video that this Gone is within my top 3 favorite Red albums, and for good reason. Now, this album here is guilty of electronics, and while I'm someone who's not really too fond of electronics myself, I do feel like it does work for this album, because this album, while it does have electronics, but I think it also combines like the good stuff that we love in Red. So yeah, Gone, I think, is actually a pretty underestimated album. So next up, we got here Innocence Instinct, which a lot of people still say to this day is their best work. Maybe. This album kind of rivals the number 1 spot for me, because this is still a very good album in my eyes, and it's a very special album to me as well, because this album was my jam back in the day, like back in 2012. Fantastic album right here. I mean, the songs on this album are just outstanding. Mystery of You, Start Again, I think, is a real underrated one, and Shadows, even though it's not a single, it is a fan favorite, and I do enjoy that song. Yeah, this album has some cool stuff on it, and I very much enjoy this album. Definitely one of their best, and if you're a Red fan, you should definitely have this album within somewhere in your top 3 of the Red discography. Innocence Instinct is a great album. And of course, you guys know what number 1 is, and that would be Of Beauty and Rage. Yeah, I enjoyed this album the second it came out. Actually, I really enjoyed the singles when they first came out. Like, I remember Darkest Part came out as a single, and Yours Again, and just by those 2 singles, I knew right away we were going to get a really good album, because, you know, this was basically a return to the roots with Innocence and Instinct, kind of. Yeah, as far as underrated songs on this album, I think they would have to be Fight to Forget, What You Keep Alive, and Gravity Lies. I think are very underrated. Gravity Lies might even be my favorite Red song of all time. I think that song is just phenomenal. It has everything you want in a Red song, in my opinion. Yeah, Of Beauty and Rage, fantastic album. One of the best rock albums of all time, in my opinion, and maybe the best album of 2015. But that's really tough. But most likely. But yeah, Of Beauty and Rage is probably my favorite Red album. So there you go, guys. That is my ranking of the Red discography. Let me know what you guys think of my rank, and I'd like to know your rank. So thank you for watching. Have a good one, and take care.